QPL's annual It's Time for Kind initiative is a seasonal celebration of the big and small acts of generosity that can turn a whole day around. Attend programs for all ages that promote kindness, contribute to our annual canned food drive, share your kindness story on our kindness walls, and more. Visit queenslib.org/It's Time for Kind to learn more. For 45 years, Queens Public Library's New Americans program has proudly celebrated our borough's outstanding diversity, while also supporting newcomers as they adjust to life in the United States. Join us as we honor the New Americans program's 45th anniversary with a variety of educational and cultural programs. View the full schedule on our calendar at queenslibrary.org. Queens Name Explorer is a year-long project to uncover the stories behind Queens' named streets, schools, buildings, parks, and monuments. Local and volunteer historians, you can help. To learn more and contribute information, an image, or a video, visit queenslib.org/explore.
Welcome to Wellness Wednesdays. I'm Christopher Galarza, Queens Public Library's Community Health Educator. Today we are joined by City Harvest, whose mission is to end hunger in communities throughout New York City through food rescue, distribution, education, and other practical, innovative solutions. Today we continue with our series of workshops entitled Eat Healthy, Be Active that focus on nutrition information, budgeting tips, and staying active. Please welcome Bianca and Aaliyah from City Harvest.
Hi, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Awesome. So if this is your first time joining us, welcome. If you have joined us before, welcome back, and thanks for being here today. Like Christopher said, this is our Eat Healthy, Be Active workshop, and this is number 4 out of 6. We're going to jump right into it. All right. So the purpose of today's workshop and handouts is we'll give you some tips for losing weight and maintain a healthy weight. We'll also be talking about BMI and the amount of calories needed per person, per body. Awesome. All right. So BMI, if maybe you've heard that term before and you're not really sure what it stands for, it is for body mass index. And what that does is, I know this slide's a little small, but basically what it does is take your height compared to your weight, and it gives you a number. And then what'll happen is you'll fall into one of a few different categories. So it could determine if you're underweight, if you're a normal weight, overweight, or obese, right? This is usually what maybe doctors' offices or medical professionals are using to determine where someone's weight status is. I do like to say that it's important to understand that this BMI doesn't account for lots of different things. So if you're someone who's pretty active and you have a high, if you have a lot of muscle, right, you might fall a little bit higher on the BMI scale. I always like to tell people when I do mine, I'm always kind of on the higher end. And that's because I'm a pretty active person and I'm keeping a healthy diet, but this isn't always direct to your health status and overall health. That being said, if you're falling into the obese category, obesity or being overweight can lead to lots of different chronic diseases. It could increase your risk for things like heart disease, some forms of cancer, high blood pressure, and things like that. So this does help sort of determine where we stand within our bodies. All right, let's talk a little bit about calorie needs. Now, this handout is based on age and activity level. again, there is some information missing. So it's not going to be 100% accurate for every person, but it's helpful to give us an oversight of a starting point, maybe a range of where we should be as far as our calories go. Now, I do want to point out that activity level is taken into consideration. So you have active, moderately active, and secondary. So if you're a very active person, your calorie needs may increase, right? So maybe you're exercising at a pretty active level on a daily basis, then your calorie needs are going to increase, right? If you're doing moderate exercise, so an example of moderate exercise might be if you're walking 1.5 miles a couple of times a week, right? Very active would be maybe if you're doing 3 miles a day a couple of times a week.
And that
secondary is mostly if you're not. Oh, sorry, Aaliyah.
No, I just wanted to add that what sticks out for me most is like the younger you are, the more calories you need, and like you said, because of that energy burn.
Yep.
You know,
Exactly.
I'm pretty active. I consider myself pretty active, and I would be, on the more mature side. And they recommend like 1,800 calories for me. I eat more than that.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah, I think I agree. I think that I'm always eating a little bit more than that's recommended. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that when we get to the tips section. But for a lot of people, you might have no clue. You might not even have a starting point. So that's why I think this is kind of helpful. So we're always encouraging folks to look at nutrition facts and turn labels over. But we're not always sure, in what reference those calories mean to our own lives. And that's sort of where we can put it ourselves in and plug ourselves in here. And again, for me, most of the time, I like a nice range. So, you can find yourself on the lower end and then maybe even add another couple of hundred calories to whatever you're intaking. All right, we're going to skip break. All right, so some tips for weight loss and keeping weight off. So we're going to start in the beginning, but I just want to say that weight loss, if someone is identifying as overweight or obese, losing some weight can help with a slew of different, first of all, medical issues. So I mentioned already, if there's any chronic diseases or chronic illnesses, some weight loss can be very effective for managing that. So for a good example would be diabetes. If anyone's ever been diagnosed, there's different kinds of diabetes, but the one that sometimes can be related to overeating and unhealthy lifestyle is type 2 diabetes. And by losing some weight, we can actually help better control our diabetes. It doesn't mean that we might get rid of it, although in some cases, some people do, but it means that we can have a better control over it. So obesity, or being overweight, right, can have lots of negative health effects on our body.
So, Bianca, I have a question.
Sure.
It's in my head right now. So if it's recommended for you to have 2,000 calories a day, okay, which is pretty much average, I think.
Mm-hmm.
How many calories, do you know how many calories you should be burning then on a daily?
Ooh. So like our metabolic needs, for example, so when I say that, I mean like our energy that takes us to sustain life and stay alive. So like our breathing or our organs functioning, our metabolic needs for most, like I would say the most for average folks. So anyone, no one who maybe has like extenuating medical circumstances or anything like that is about 12 to 1,600 calories. So that's what we're burning, just kind of living.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, so on top of that, if we're active, or maybe we're just, Maybe we take the stairs a lot, we're not even exercising, right? That can be another 500 to 600 calories. So for a lot of folks, that's why, you can maintain, because you're maybe eating like 2,000 to 2,200 calories, and you're naturally, right, without even trying, probably burning, I would say about 18 to 2,000 calories on a regular basis.
That is so good. I mean, I'm surprised. I'm fascinated by that information, because when I exercise, I have my little Apple Watch and I'm like, oh, I need to burn 600 calories.
Yeah. Yeah. Otherwise, I mean, we for the most part, a lot of us would be like probably gaining more weight than we actually are, which is good. It's good. Like we even burn, even while we're sleeping, our metabolic needs drop, but we're still burning calories.
Wow.
Because we're functioning. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. We're going to talk a little bit about calories in the tips section, but not all calories are created equal either. And I just had this conversation with a younger group that I had. If you're eating a chocolate bar that's 200 calories, or you're eating, hummus and crackers that's 200 calories, right? Your body doesn't treat those 200 calories the same. So that's why sometimes when we focus too much on calories, we're sort of missing the bigger picture, right? It's not just, okay, let's decrease our calories to lose weight. It doesn't matter how we're getting them, because it does. It absolutely matters, where we're getting our calories from. Our body doesn't treat a 200 calorie chocolate bar and a 200 calorie, hummus snack the same.
So this is interesting, because there are times that I will, before I go to the gym, like if I'm feeling like I want a cheeseburger or something, I'll say, okay, because I'm going to burn these calories when I get to the gym. It takes a longer time, though, to burn those kind of calories, right? Than it would
Right.
the calories you get from like vegetables or something.
Yep.
This is great, because I
Yeah.
think, because of, consumerism and marketing, we get lost and we get confused about how and what we should be doing. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Keeping up my
It's
old-
confusing, That's why I think that in just repeating it so often, I know that, we don't want to fixate on calories, but I think it's important to address them. Otherwise, we're left with this like gaping hole of information. Is it better to eat the 200 calorie, because it's only 200 calorie chocolate bar, or is it better to have a 500 calorie snack with peanut butter and apples and celery, right? So
Wow.
I always say go for the higher calories if they're better calories, because our body's using them.
Wow.
That's why when you said like about burning in the gym, yeah, because our body is, breaking down the healthy food and using it all, and only has to burn the little bit of leftover, where the chocolate bar, we have to burn the whole thing. I know.
No easy
Sometimes
way
it's hard
out.
to hear.
No easy way out.
No, never. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that, like just starting to listen to our bodies a little bit more. And that's the first tip that we have. It's about setting weight goals and learning your BMI. So I already mentioned that BMIs are really flexible and they're not the be all end all. I always say my BMI is always on the high end. It's always trying to tell me that I'm unhealthy and overweight. But that's not, always the determining factor. You have to consider other things. Now, I do like to set goals. It could be a weight loss goal, maybe. Maybe that's where you need to start, because again, like I mentioned, sometimes at the end of the day, folks just need to lose some weight, because all that weight is just, it's just not good for our bodies in general. Even if you don't have any chronic illnesses or high blood pressure or diabetes, right? We're still sustaining more weight on our body than we actually need, meaning that our heart is working more, right? Because we're, our energy level is more because our bodies are maybe larger. So that is still something really important to consider. If you don't have anything that's being affected by it necessarily, just know that, our bodies are working harder when we are, falling into that high end of overweight, into that obese category. So even if your weight loss goal might just be to maintain, maybe that's your goal for right now, I will say that really successful weight loss is slow and steady. 1 to 2 pounds per week. For my body, I know my body. If I'm trying to, I was just joking around after the summer. I got married this summer. I was on a vacation. So I'm a little bit higher than what I'm comfortable with. But for me, 1 to 2 pounds a week of weight loss isn't really realistic. I am more of like a half pound, maybe a week person. So those are my goals for myself. So really knowing, what's realistic, right? Realistic goals that we can feel successful when we achieve. That's better than, meeting expectations that are with a little bit within our reach.
Yeah, you have to be comfortable doing it, because if you're not going to, you're not going to succeed. And like you said, take little steps. And then also people, different people have different body makeups, And this is another question that I get from our younger participants. How do I gain weight? That's what the younger people want to do. So in terms of like a healthy way to gain weight, what would you recommend?
Yeah, so I think like a healthier way to begin to gain weight I would say start with some muscle, right? So instead of getting on the treadmill and running, starting with weightlifting. And by weightlifting, I don't mean you're lifting up I don't know what the big ones are called, the big dumbbells.
Right.
I mean, just doing some free weights and starting there, using your own body. Like, there's a lot to be said by going back to the basics and doing push-ups, right? Because you're using your body's weight. You don't have any fancy equipment. And then slowly what'll happen more naturally is when you start to use more energy, you naturally start to become hungrier, and then you can eat more. I find it very hard when people are trying to gain weight to just tell them to eat more, because the odds are they can't gain the weight because they're not really that hungry and they're not eating enough.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's so true. And they're not eating the right things.
Right.
With the younger folks, I tell them, okay, so you can do shakes. You can add bananas to your shakes. If you want to do a 5% milk, you can, or some kind of soy or rice milk. That's a hard question for me. I also tell them to put peanut butter.
Mm-hmm.
Eat more peanut butter.
Yeah.
Avocados.
Yeah. Yeah, because you don't want weight gain in an unhealthy way, right? Like you don't want to tell people just, go to fast food restaurants and drink soda, right? That's not the right way to gain weight. But like you mentioned, also high calorie, like food that's dense, right, in calories. So nuts, like you mentioned, peanut butter is a great one. Nuts is a fantastic snack if you're trying to gain weight. I don't eat them because they're too many calories for me, even though they're healthy. The portion of nuts is like your little hand when you like scrunch it up.
And it's never that.
Yeah, never enough.
I'm like a rabbit.
Yes. So I always say, I joke around, I say that nuts for me is an on-the-go snack. My day's tight. I need a little bit of energy and some calories, handful of nuts. It is never a couch snack because then I eat the entire bag, right? And they're good, but we can always overeat. So for someone who's gaining weight, though, that could be a really good option. Even moving towards like full-fat dairy, normally our recommendation is low to non-fat. But if you're trying to gain weight, that full-fat dairy is going to help
boost that. Yeah, those calories.
Yeah, definitely. Using body measurements, and I like this one for young folks too, because they're. I think that their concern with like weight is less based on health, right? And more based on like visual, and that's okay. Folks, they're young and they're learning. But I definitely think that body measurements could help in that way. So for people that are looking for to kind of change their weight.
Oh, to keep up with the body measurements, like measure yourself up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Because
definitely.
How do you know there's any difference? True.
Right. Because weight isn't always reflective, especially if you're working out and exercising. You might not know your clothes, how you, if there's an outfit or a pair of pants that you've worn that you haven't felt comfortable in, trying those back on as a little bit of motivation and keeping you, on focus of your goals, because weight doesn't always change. It's not always reflective. That's what I said. The BMI is a little bit, there's a lot of vagueness there. It's not always reflective of our health.
And we go up and down. We also have water weight.
Yep.
So, yeah.
There's a lot of things to consider that are not always, that are not always there, they're not included.
Thank you, Bianca.
Yeah. So eat less and decide how. Right. So we sort of addressed this already with the candy bar example. I always like that example. So if you're going to, eat a snack, right? Naturally choosing a healthier snack will lower your calories. That's just without even kind of putting a lot of effort in. So an example I use all the time, because hummus is one of my guacamole. I'm a big dip person. I like snacks that take time, right? So that I can like chew and it's crunchy and it has effort to it. That's why I don't do a lot of nuts on the couch. So if you're eating hummus and you eat it with pretzels or pita, which pretty often, or guacamole with the tortilla chip, try making a small change. Do your portion of, pretzels, pita, tortilla. Do a portion if that's what you'd like. And then after that, switch out. Rotate to some veggies. Do some bell peppers, some cucumbers, some zucchini, some carrots, right? And this way, again, you're not really getting rid of, but you're just naturally eating less calories, because those things are less calories, but you're not eating really less food, right? Because we don't want to leave people hungry.
True.
Especially like young people,
Yes.
Like I remember being a kid and having to go to school and after school and activities, and being hungry is it's a confusing feeling when you're younger. And you have a lot of things going on. You have a lot of things to focus on. So by just kind of replacing, so another example is, I know sugary beverages are tough for some people, iced teas, where we're going to get to a slide too, where it talks about that. But, iced tea, sodas, vitamin waters, energy drinks. Maybe you like that carbonated drink, maybe switching to a flavored seltzer or a flavored water. They make those sparkling waters now, could be an option for some people. So we're just replacing, and then the calories are lowered naturally because of the choices that we're making, right? If you find that you're snacking throughout the day, maybe consider making your main meal a little bit smaller. Maybe you enjoy more meals throughout the day. So you don't have to have, because normally we're encouraging big breakfast, a big lunch, a big dinner on a regular size plate. Maybe we can make a smaller plate and just continue to eat healthy snacks throughout the day.
I love that. That's how I eat. Yeah.
Me too. I like to pick throughout the day. Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, let's go to, sorry about that. All right, I think this is tip number 3. Yeah, so keep track of what you eat. Now, this I think is definitely dependent on the person. I know that this works for a lot of people. It doesn't work for other people. I will say, in the start of your journey, in the beginning, and that journey could be weight loss, or that journey could just be being healthier, adding more exercise. I do think that at the start, it's helpful to write things down, because we don't know. Maybe you think that you're really unhealthy and actually you're eating lots of good things, but maybe your portions are just too big. Or maybe you think that you're healthy, but you're like, you know what? I stick my hands in the bag of potato chips a couple of times a day, or, I'm eating my kids' left. I hear that from moms a lot. When my kids leave the chicken nuggets and French fries on the table, I pick at them, but I'm not eating an actual meal. But those things add up. It's better to just eat an actual meal. So I do like to encourage people to, when they're starting, jot things down. It doesn't have to be a full out diary, but I think that keeping some kind of track is helpful. for myself, I always want to. It's always a goal for me to keep track, but I never do it. But I will say that, like for example, my coffee. I that was a goal for mine when I realized I wanted to be a little bit healthier. I always had coffee with lots of milk and lots of sugar. So that was something that was a small goal that I focused on, and my goal was to decrease the amount of sugar. So for me, I used to jot it down. All right, Bianca, you put 4 teaspoons. We're going to do 3.5. And I'm going to do that for 2 weeks. And then I'm going to see if I can go down to 3. But it was easier to keep track because otherwise, sometimes you kind of don't know.
And it's such a good idea because we keep diaries, right, of our day to day. Some of us do. So yeah, that would be a great, because you can really see, what you said about the kids and leaving the bag of potato chips and the can. I'm guilty. Okay. Yeah. I'm right there. And then, I'll be like, oh, I don't eat badly, but you're right. It adds up. And if you're not keeping track, and of course we don't really want to keep track, right?
Right.
You fool yourself into thinking it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to work with a nurse at one point, and she said, if you bite it, you write it. And I always used to love that, because when I would try to keep a food diary, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't, I didn't really eat that. I just had a piece of it or a bite of it. But it adds up, right? We don't even know.
Wow.
Yeah. So I definitely think, and then you know what? Maybe you're used to it. You know what you're eating. You know how many calories that you're consuming, so you don't have to do it all the time. But I do think in the beginning. So as a dietitian, a lot of the times I recommend that from patients so that I can calculate how many calories you're eating, so I can tell you how many calories less you should be eating in order to lose weight. Otherwise, it's really hard. So the rule is, like they say, cut about 500 to 600 calories from what you're consuming to see some weight loss. Now, again, it's not always the be all end all rule, but it's somewhere, it's like a metric to start at. Otherwise, like I said, we don't know what maybe people aren't eating enough food,
That's the other side of that coin. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And I hear that all the time, oh, I don't eat anything till 3:00. Then your bodies are kind of like in a starvation mode. They don't know when they're going to get their meal. They're holding on to everything that they have inside of their body, right? So sometimes eating more of the right things.
Where are you on intermittent fasting?
A per person kind of thing. I strongly believe that. I don't think that I don't think it's the be all end all. I know when it came out, it was like very popular, but I do think that for some people it does work. And I think it's helpful. And so I always tell people, if you want to try it, see how it fits into your lifestyle and your life. And for people that are picking and constantly overeating all day, it's a helpful way for them to kind of reel it in and control, put them on a schedule almost.
Thank you. It's nothing. It's not new. I mean, now it's just a trend, but people have been eating like that forever.
Yes. You're totally right. Yes.
Yeah.
It is. It's very trendy right now.
Yeah. Thank you.
I don't do it because I just, like I said, I pick all day. All right. So adding activity, you will hear, this is like across the board always, no matter what your weight status is. We want and need activity in our lives. And again, it doesn't even boil down to weight loss or weight maintaining. It just in general for our entire body, for our muscles, for our bones, right? For our hearts, for our mental health. Adding activity to our lives will improve it in every aspect. Every single aspect will be improved by adding some kind of activity. And again, activity looks different for everyone.
And it pays off after a certain age. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
That's
definitely.
That's when you realize, oh my God, yes, I need to be doing this.
Yeah. I agree. I always, with the kids classes, it's easier for them to rationalize ideas when I refer to so I always refer to like an athlete, right? now it's like Tom Brady because he's a little bit older and, you know, he's able to play at this elite level. And I always have that conversation with them. And, you know, we hear it all, you know, age is just a number. But as far as your health goes, it really is. It's a way to really maintain a really healthy life with a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah. And if you start young, when you start young, it's more likely that you're going to keep those habits up,
Yep.
you know, after you turn 40, 50, 60.
Yeah.
So important.
Yeah. I will say though, Aaliyah, and this I've learned through conversation with people, and I love it. I've spoken to folks who like started getting active when they were 60. And even at that point felt like their whole health, their whole lives were really like a 360 just by starting slow and, you know, never being a very active person, but they were able to, whatever was in their means. You know, I remember my grandma was like 85 and she was swimming. She was doing laps because that was the only thing that didn't, you know, hurt all of her knees and her elbows, but she was active.
Swimming is a wonderful full body exercise. Oh my God. It's like the best thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
And walking.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And just simply walking. That's it. You know, so something that is, you know, I say, you know, start slow. I never encourage people to start off going to the gym 5 days a week. You know, I like to put a range, start with if 1 to 2 or 2 to 3, and then just slowly increase it. And what I like to tell folks is pick a schedule. Like, don't say, you know, you're going to go 1 to 2 times this week. Say I go to the gym on Mondays and I go to the gym on Wednesdays. Part of your schedule. If you had a doctor's appointment on Monday, you would be there. If you had somewhere to be for your job, if you had a meeting, you'd be there. So put it on your schedule.
Yes. All right.
Yeah.
And Bianca has spoken.
I'm preaching over here. All right. Here's an example of some food tracking. I think this is very detailed. It's got the calories in there. For some people, you know, maybe your problem is you're overeating sugar. So maybe you're just keeping track of the sugar content and things. Maybe you started working out and you want to make sure you're getting enough protein. You can keep track of the protein. Again, what I tell people to do sometimes, if this is really a struggle for them, I tell them, same thing with exercise. I say, pick 2 or 3 days that you're going to track. If it's not all 7, that's okay. Let's start small. You know, if it's easier for you to do Saturdays and Sundays because you're home and you're not working, or maybe it's easier for you to do the days of the week when you're, you know, at school or work and you take lunch with you.
I like that.
Yeah.
Not starting with the whole week because it can be very overwhelming.
Yeah. Like I start strong and then as the week would go on, I'd kind of like fall off. And then when the weekend came, I was almost like embarrassed of what I was eating and I didn't even want to write it down, you know?
See? Yeah. Okay. I like that.
All right. So this is just, again, some like kind of just plain examples of a food journal. I feel like everyone has a smartphone now or some kind of phone in their hands, you know, maybe not a smartphone, but
got to be apps too that you can download.
Apps. I used to have someone who used to just go into their notes and just type it in because they always had their phone on their hand. But yeah, or you can just paper and pen, leave it on the refrigerator. I find that that's helpful sometimes because you're usually eating in your kitchen. All right. So back to the physical activity. So we already mentioned starting slow, kind of giving yourself a schedule. Over my period of my life, I have been into lots of different kinds of physical activity. There's been points where I was all about walking and cardio. Recently, the last couple of years, I've started doing yoga, which I really love. You know, and in 5 years, it might change again. I know during COVID, I was very into like YouTube videos. I know people will follow like Instagram influencers that have their own specific workouts, you know, because we were home. So I know we mentioned swimming is fantastic. It can be whatever it looks like for you, right?
I still do the videos.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I go to the gym sometimes and I do the videos at home.
Yeah.
I think I think what's important to point out also is that the body needs to have, I'm so glad you mentioned those three different aspects. I mean, yoga, meditation for the mind,
Mm,
you know, the weightlifting to keep our muscles intact, and
mhm.
definitely the cardio for our heart. So for me, I get bored. I need to have like a
Yeah.
mix of stuff because I can't do the same thing. So some days I'll do the yoga, I meditate every day. And then I have 3 times a week I'll do cardio. And you know, you have to do it all at some
Yeah.
point. The weightlifting for me is the hardest. I don't really enjoy doing it, but I do it because I know, you know, you have
It's
to keep that
important.
off the, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't want
Yes.
wings. We don't want wings. Not
Yes. You know, it's funny. A lot of the times, right? Like, I think that the biggest hurdles for people with exercise is they're not sure where to start. They're not comfortable in the gym. It's expensive. They don't have a lot of time. Um, what I adore now is that like you can do it in the comfort of your own living room by yourself. It can be if you go on YouTube, you can type in 5-minute videos. You can type in 30, it could be so specific. You can have, all right, I have 12 minutes. You know, you can find a video that fits your needs and you can find the level that you're at, right? If you're just starting, you can find, you know, a very low level exercise to start at. It
and you can
doesn't
just
have
start
to be
walking.
intense.
You
Hmm.
can start walking,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know.
Do you, are you active outside in the colder weather?
No, unless I go to the gym.
Yeah. I know
Okay,
some people
that's
are though. I know like religiously people get that fresh air no
and
matter what. I
run.
see people.
Yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah.
I'm good.
Not
I
not for me either. Not
yeah.
for me either. I don't go out there unless I have to. You
I'm
know,
gonna go into the kitchen, Bianca, and start to get ready for our
yes,
wonderful cooking demonstration that we're gonna do
perfect.
today.
I'll wrap up here about 10 minutes. You want more
Um,
than that?
it's what time is it right now? It's 12:37.
Uh-huh.
So give me about 10 minutes, and then I'll be
Okay.
ready.
All right, perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So we're gonna move on. This is our Rethink Our Drink matching game. It's usually a pretty interactive game, but for this setting's purpose, I just want to look at some of the options here. Now I have a second screen that I'm going to look at because this is a little bit small for me. But just really quickly on here it's listed. There's water, chocolate milk, fat-free milk, diet soda, unsweetened tea, sports drink, whole milk, apple juice, sweetened iced tea, soda, latte, lemonade, frozen coffee. So on the other side, there is the calorie amounts. Now, I want to just point out a few. I don't want to point out a lot of them. I think that for the most of us, when we see a lot of these things, we can identify what's got a lot of calories, what's got a lot of sugar, what's not so healthy for us. I want to point out a couple of things that for me, just having conversations with people struggle to identify. So the first one I want to look at is the lemonade. Lemonade, it's made from lemons, right? Lemons with a lot of sugar in it. So that one is about 280 calories. So that's just a typical lemonade, whether it's homemade or you're purchasing it. But what I love is that we can tweak this. Like if we are making it ourselves, we don't have to put so much of that, so much sugar in it. What I actually do when I'm at home and I'm making lemonade is I try to cut it with another fruit. So like I'm doing like a blueberry lemonade or an apple lemonade and I'm squeezing in another fruit juice. This way I'm adding in some natural sugar to cut the acidity and the sourness of the lemon without adding too much sugar. The coffee, the frozen, I think it's like a frozen something or another coffee down there. 430 calories. One of the questions I always ask like anyone is what are we drinking? But then separately, what about coffee? Because sometimes people were not considering that like a sugary, high calorie beverage. 430 calories in there. That's a meal. or a large snack even. Right. And normally we're not just drinking that. And maybe we are. Maybe that's replacing our breakfast. But again, this goes back to like, where am I getting my calories from? Am I getting it from lots of sugar and fat, which is what the coffee is giving us, right? Or am I taking a 430 calories and eating, I don't know, like a breakfast burrito, right? With the whole wheat tortilla and beans and egg, protein and fiber, right? So that's what goes back to it. I don't want us to think, oh, well, the calories are equivalent. But what we're getting is not equivalent. Iced tea, I think iced tea is always one that, like the Arizonas especially. Oh, it's not soda, it's iced tea. Iced tea's got a lot of sugar in it, the same thing. If we're making it ourselves, we can control it a little bit more. But for the most part, sweetened iced tea is about 225 calories. The unsweetened tea that's there is 3 calories, right? Because it doesn't have that sugar in there. So everything's coming from the sugar, basically. And then, of course, water. Water is 0. We want to consume as much water as we can. I say that, of course, we can overdo everything. We can overdo our water intake. But for the most part, if we're just drinking it throughout the day, most of us are okay. We're not overdoing it. So it's helpful to have it with you throughout the day, especially instead of like pouring yourself a glass of water when you sit down for a meal, right? Having a bottle with you. And it doesn't have to be it could be a plastic, whatever. I mean, but just having it with you throughout the day will help you drink it instead of having to like pour yourself a glass at a mealtime. All right, awesome. So that is our matching game. And then, of course, just some tips and tricks to help limit and cut the calories of those high calorie beverages. So if you're doing like a coffee or or a latte, replacing the whole milk with the skim milk is a really great start. Again, if you're doing the lemonades or iced tea, cutting the sugar. Seltzer, those sparkling waters are a great alternative if you're looking for something carbonated. If you're doing juice, parents always tell me, I dilute my kids' juice. Maybe that works for you. You can also even add like a little bit of carbonation to the juice, and that'll stretch it and it'll make it bubbly though. So it won't be just like watered down juice. We don't want to eat or drink empty calories, right? So by drinking empty calories, I always ask people about juice. You have juice for breakfast? Are you still eating breakfast? Probably. Right? I'd rather you eat the whole fruit. You're getting the fiber. It's taking the time. How many apples does it take to get a glass of apple juice? I don't know the answer. Every time you look it up, it's something different depending on the size of the apples and the size of the glass. But it's roughly about 5 to 6 apples. So you're getting this juice, natural juice, but you're getting the juice from 5 to 6 apples. You're not eating 5 to 6 apples. All right. And then this is just some tips before Aaliyah pops back on to do the demo. Some 10 tips for making healthier choices. So I am going to just kind of read them out loud. So drink more water, right? How much water? Thirsty is your guide. I love that. So when you're thirsty, drink. Keep that water bottle with you throughout the day. You should probably be consuming about, they say 8 8-ounce glasses a day. So like if you're doing like the regular Poland Spring water bottles, that would be about 2, 4, 6. So like 4 of those per day. So save money by drinking water, tap water even. If you're in New York, tap water is usually pretty safe. You could get a Brita and filter it if that makes you more comfortable. So kid-friendly drink zone, so water, milk, juice. But again, I really encourage the whole fruit rather than the glass of juice. Enjoy your beverages as a treat. If you're going out to dinner and you want a glass of soda, get a glass of soda. What I do is I always make my first beverage whatever it is I want. If it's water, it's water. But if it's a soda, I do a soda, and then I drink water for the rest of the time that I'm out. I do this for 2 different reasons. First of all, it's healthier. Second of all, it helps your budget, right? I don't know anywhere that's free refills anymore. Everywhere you go, they charge you, I feel like, for a refill. So what I will do is have my drink, my soda, my juice, my iced tea, and then I'll have water for the rest of the night. Again, reusable water bottles are great, and checking the labels on the back. This is important, of course, for sugar and calorie intake of these beverages. Also, portion size. Those Arizonas, and I always ask people, right? I do not share that Arizona. When I get that Arizona, that's my drink. It's not a sharing kind of drink to me. Most people will say the same thing. That is 2.5 servings. That's not 1 serving. That's not those numbers, those calories, those sugar content. That's not for 1 Arizona. That's for a serving. And there's 2.5 servings in that can. So that means you have to multiply everything by 2.5. We need to start looking at the nutrition facts label. It's so important. Even if it just gives us a starting point of where we should be. It's really important that we're looking at that. All right. All right. Of course, my plate as always. Thank you guys so much. If you, as you know, I hope I mentioned in the beginning, questions and comments as you have them, we will answer them. But I am going to go ahead and turn it over to Aaliyah now so she can do a fantastic cooking demo for us.
Hi. Okay, so I can't see myself on full screen. I see Christopher. Okay, thank
We got you.
so much. All right. Okay, so hi everyone. Welcome to my kitchen. I'm coming to you from Brooklyn, New York, and I'm going to do one of my favorite side dish recipes. It's so simple. You might even have these staple items in your pantry all the time. Carrot, beet, and apple salad. Okay. You can use this in so many different ways. I use it sometimes, and I'm so glad you talked about calories because Bianca, this is one of my getaway dishes for no rice. Okay. I'll have like the salad on the side with a piece of chicken or a piece of fish. But you can also use this for to add to a regular salad because, as we know, salads are everything, right? You can throw almost anything into a salad, okay? So, and it's inexpensive. Carrots, beets, right? Apple, all right? And I'm going to use today, of course, you can always use the fresh beets, right? Which are raw, okay? And that's another thing I just wanted to mention. This is a completely, well, not today because I'm using the beets that are already cooked, but when you use the fresh beets, it's a completely raw recipe, which is wonderful, right? Because getting raw vegetables and fruits into our body, we know we're getting the total number of nutrients, right? And so much fiber, which is definitely something that we need these days in our diet, okay? So I am going to take this carrot, and the other thing is you only need like a grater, okay?
I love it. No cleanup.
Right. A little bit of cleanup. This is like one of my favorite things. So here are the beets that I'm using, right? You can generally find these in the produce section, right? They are peeled and cooked, all right? Now, fresh beets, I'm going to say I'm a huge fan of those as well. But, sometimes when you're in a rush and you don't have much time, go with this. Beets are high in iron, lots of vitamin C, as well as the apples that we're using and the carrots, okay? And I'm going to throw a little bit of red onion in there. Talk about antioxidants in this recipe. All right. So let me start by, let's grate some of this carrot. All right. And how much time does this take? Hardly any. Okay.
I've never bought those beets before, Aaliyah.
I love those beets. Okay, I found them. I mean, I always knew they were there, but I would always go for the fresh ones. But why? I mean, I have them in the and the other thing is they last in the refrigerator. Okay?
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah.
Chris is like shaking his head. Chris,
I always buy the beets in the can. I've never seen them out at my supermarkets, but I get the ones in the can and throw those on salads.
Oh, okay. So I didn't know about the canned ones. Like the ones in the can.
Sorry. Say that again.
Uh-oh. I said, do they come low sodium?
I'm not
Low
sure. I
sodium.
usually I rinse them off.
Yeah. I was gonna say I'm almost positive that they do. I
Mm.
actually really like the ones in the cans too. I like cans beets in all forms. I've never seen the ones that Aaliyah is using, but I do the same thing with my salads. I'll do the canned beans. I'll drain them, rinse them,
Mhm.
and add them in.
Yeah, in the fresh produce area, right near like the salads,
Yeah.
packaged stuff.
Yeah.
And so I chose a green apple today, like what do you call this? A Granny Smith.
Yes.
And I'm gonna go ahead and grate this with the skin on, which is yet another great way to get like nutrients.
That was one thing I was going to ask Aaliyah. Do you keep the skin on your carrots? Because I think there's two parties with that one.
If they're, you know what, I'm here. So my family, there's a lot of cultural stuff to our cooking, right? Now my grandmother would smack me if I said, do not peel the carrots, okay? So I peel the carrots.
That's so funny. Yeah, I grew up the opposite. My grandmother never peeled the carrots.
Also, yeah.
She's like, we don't waste the peel.
That's so interesting. But you know what's so funny? My grandmother wouldn't peel the carrots, but she wouldn't. She would rinse the chicken and the fish in vinegar and salt and all of that to make sure there was no bacteria. And I told her, I remember before she died, God bless her, I said, now, that's really not safe, Nana. And she said, get out of here. Just get out of here. That's when I was in the culinary school. She said, don't try to teach me anything that you learned in that school. But she lived to be 98. So,
wow.
You see?
She was doing something, right?
Exactly. That's old school, though. And I tried to explain to her that, unfortunately, a lot of the same, processes that the food you were eating back in 1940, it's not the same process.
Yeah.
So, pepper. It didn't break. So with the beets, if I had the fresh ones, I would go ahead, right, and just grate them as well. But because these are cooked already, we're just going to chop them up. And it's so pretty, like all of these different colors in here. You know what else could add to this? Radish. Radish. Okay. And people sleep on radish. I mean, it's peppery. You can not only make it in a salad, but you can use it to top like burritos or quesadillas, for that peppery taste. I didn't used to like radishes until I found out, how nutritious they were, and I tried them in different ways.
Yeah.
Different, ways to cook them. And so here we are with our onion. I'm also going to add just a little bit, do a fresh chop. And then what's really fun is going to be the dressing that's going to go with that. It's going to be lemon, a little bit of olive oil, and a little salt and pepper, and that's all you need. Now, of course, you can feel free to add any other ingredients that you might see fit, that you like to add to your salads. Like for me, I like a little extra onion, so that's why I had like almost a half of an onion in here to 1 carrot and a half of an apple. I know. I'm gonna get the bubble gum afterwards because my breath. You know what I do also? Garlic. Garlic is so good for you. I started eating like a clove a day.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's rough. Especially when it's fresh.
Yes.
So I'm gonna take the lemon, and I took a little bowl here because I like to mix my dressing separately. Salad dressings are super easy, guys. You do not have to spend money on them, right? All you need is an acid, okay, and an oil, okay? Any oil that you choose, right? I'm going to use lemon today, and to keep the seeds out, this is what I'm doing here, right? I just want to get this in here. The thing with a salad dressing, though, you just have to remember it's a 2-to-1 measurement. If you're just starting out making salad dressings, if you're already familiar with it, I'm sure you figured out your own quantities, right? But it's usually 2-to-1. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put this medium-sized lemon. I think I've got like maybe a quarter cup of lemon juice in here, which is really good for this little lemon. Maybe a little less than. Okay. And then I was really tempted to add another kind of oil. I'm gonna be good, and I'm gonna use the olive oil. But last night I was in Union Square, guys. You know the holiday market is out there, right? There was this guy from a company called Truffiest. Everything truffle. Okay.
Ooh.
So yeah, you got to get over there. And so I have some truffle oil, but I said no. Let me just use the olive oil. I'm saving for something else. But I just added a little bit in here, right? I like a tangier salad dressing. So I'm definitely going to have a little bit more lemon juice than oil in here. Okay. But let's see what happens. And then here's a little bit of salt. That was some pepper I added. Just a tinge of salt because the lemon is going to give you so much flavor anyway. Right? Now, can I add herbs? Can I add cilantro to that? Can I add basil? Can I add? Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, so let me just taste my. Needs a little bit more oil. See, but this is what I like about just cooking. Baking is a whole different story. See, when you can add, you can take away, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna add a little bit more oil. You can also use balsamic vinegar, which makes a nice dressing as well. Okay, so let me mix up my salad here.
Sometimes when I am looking for like a creamier dressing, instead of doing something that's like mayo based, I like to add mustard to the vinaigrettes because it helps like emulsify it and it's really nice.
Absolutely. I do the same thing, Chris. It's the same thing. When I make my balsamic vinaigrette, I add the mustard and I add a little honey in it too.
Yeah.
So nice.
You know, I don't know, Chris, if you've ever done like to make even like a creamier, like a Greek yogurt base too.
Yes, yeah. But sometimes it gets a little too tangy.
Yeah, definitely don't add the lemon.
Yeah.
Chris loves to cook. This is so nice doing these with you guys because especially you, Chris, because you come out and you have all these wonderful ideas. So I know you're fun in the kitchen.
Well, one thing I was thinking about is that when apples aren't in season, we can throw jicama, instead of having the apples.
Yes, jicama.
Talk about an underutilized.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
This is so yummy. I'm going to put it into this little glass bowl so you can just see what it needs is a little green, but I don't have any. I would have put like cilantro in here, parsley, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Look at that.
Beautiful.
Always jealous when you do the cooking demo. You can have a tasty snack after.
Yes, and since I don't eat until 12 o'clock, it works out perfectly. Perfect. So I don't know if anyone has any questions in the chat or anything.
There's no questions now, but you guys said a lot of great things today. And I think one of the things that I really kept hearing was like goal setting, right? And I think we've spoken about this before about making SMART goals, right? Making specific, measurable, achievable goals, right? So, if we are looking to cut down on our added sugars, not necessarily our natural sugars, our added sugars, let's make a goal around added sugars and not make some sort of like, oh, I'm going to lose 5 pounds. That has nothing to do with, cutting down on our sugars, right? And then making sure that it's achievable. Instead of saying, oh, I'm going to cut out all sugary drinks. Okay, I'll swap out one drink for a diet or one drink for water, and just even just that little thing, we see it a lot. We call it about harm reduction, right? So we see it usually with like cigarettes and things like that. We could use that in our health daily lives too, just making small incremental changes to achieve that final goal of what we're looking for.
Yeah.
And it's always wonderful to have a registered dietitian around who can,
Yes. Yes.
separate the facts from the fiction. Because I
Mhm.
think that's where people get caught up.
Yeah.
Yes.
A lot of information out there.
Lots
Yeah.
of, and even within the scientific community, there's a lot of different studies that say different things, and you just have to, just stick with the this is the guideline.
Yeah, yeah.
If it sounds extreme, it probably is. But
And your body,
yes,
your body will tell you what to do. It
Yeah.
really does.
Yeah,
Like when
for
you
sure.
crave things, I believe, okay, even when you crave bad stuff, your body needs something, right? That it's trying to get, like either a vitamin or, I mean, some is emotional eating, right? But oh my God, this is a whole nother
I was
class.
gonna say, you're talking about satiety, and we could talk about that next time. And I was so glad that everyone was here. Thank you again, Bianca and Aaliyah, and hope everyone has a great rest of their day. And we'll see you next time.
Bye, guys. Thank you so
you.
much. Bye-bye.